I'm the youngest. My oldest brother, gay. My second sister, lesbian. My third brother and fourth sister. They're pretending to be step-siblings in love. The whole fake romantic thing. Mom and Dad were losing it. They sat me down, hands literally shaking, and asked, "Hello? Please tell us you're normal. Please tell us there's nothing weird going on with you." I pulled out my phone, opened my photo gallery, and showed them a picture. My boyfriend's a punk. They literally sighed with relief. A punk. That's great. We love punks. Punks are wonderful. Then a line of luxury cars pulled up outside our building. This guy stepped out of a Rolls-Royce, wearing a custom-tailored suit that probably cost more than our car. That was Asher Sterling, my so-called punk boyfriend. My family's jaws hit the floor. Wait, where's the punk? I pointed at his hair, right there. Bleached blonde.
See?
After Asher left, my siblings literally huddled in the corner crying. If we'd known he was a rich hottie, we never would have pretended to be gay and into fake romance. We're a blended family. Mom had 2 sons with her ex-husband, my oldest brother and third brother. Dad had 2 daughters with his ex-wife, my second sister and fourth sister. I'm the only kid they had together after they got married. Since I'm the only child they share, they couldn't really discipline each other's kids properly. So, guess who became the punching bag?
Me?
That's right. I was the one who always got in trouble. I've been a little off since I was a kid. When I was little, I cried for hours because my parents got married without inviting me. No one cared. So I just went and ate cake by myself. In elementary school, Mom called me lazy. I swore I'd become a cold, ruthless studying machine to make them regret it. I studied hard for one whole afternoon, realized being edgy was exhausting, and gave up immediately. My siblings are all brilliant, like they got every good gene from our parents. But by the time it got to me, 2 negatives made a negative. I'd see them sitting together sighing about me. My parents even took me to get my IQ tested. The result came back showing I was intellectually challenged. Your blood pressure skyrocketed. But here's the thing, I'm not stupid. I'm just incredibly lazy. Dad's a scientist. Mom's a mathematician. My oldest brother's a famous lawyer. My second sister's a top surgeon. My third brother's a celebrity. My fourth sister runs her own company, SEO. With resources like that already in place, why would I even try? I figured out early on that the moment you show any talent, people expect you to work nonstop to maintain that genius label. But I'm way too lazy for that. Still, watching them walk around with worried faces, awkwardly defending me to outsiders while clearly embarrassed, I felt a little bad. Fine. I'll throw them a bone. I put in the tiniest bit of effort, and boom, top of the grade just like that. Before me, the top student was my desk mate, Asher Sterling. After I took his #1 spot, he stared at the ranking board with my name on it, looking completely betrayed. I trusted you. I had your back. And you do this to me? He looked so genuinely hurt that I pulled out a strawberry lollipop and put it on his desk. I won't take the test next time. Asher grabbed the candy, his eyes suddenly blazing with determination. I accept your challenge.
Huh?
What challenge? He used to be pretty laid back, like a street punk who barely paid attention in class. And still, he'd always come in first. Teachers and classmates treated him like a genius. But this time me, the so-called intellectually challenged kid, beat the genius. Unheard of. Unbelievable. Classmates assumed I cheated and reported me to the school. I got called into the office. Willow, given your unexpected performance, some students have questioned the authenticity of your results. Do you have anything to say in your defense? The guy asking was the dean of students, a chubby middle-aged man. His tone was gentle, but his words had an edge. I didn't like him. Why would I defend myself? He paused, then frowned. Because students reported you for cheating, the burden of proof is on the accuser. If they're accusing me of cheating, they should provide evidence, not make me prove my innocence. I'm not explaining anything. This level of test doesn't even require cheating. If there are any questions,
Talk to my lawyer.
my brother literally owns a law firm. Might as well use it. I didn't feel like listening to him anymore, so I went back to class.
Talking that much was exhausting.
The moment I sat down, I collapsed onto my desk with a long sigh. Little Moonbeam, are you crying? I opened my eyes to find Asher's face right next to mine, staring at me with that boyish intensity.
Who hurt you? Tell me.
I'll confront them. I looked up at him. He was contorted into some weird position just to see my face. The dean of students. I stared at him unblinking. Asher planted his foot on the chair and slammed his hand on the desk. That jerk messed with my Moonbeam. I'm gonna teach him a lesson. That same day, I saw a post on the school forum. The dean of students. Bike tires had been mysteriously slashed by a kind stranger. The school couldn't prove I cheated, so they accepted my results. They still called my mom to inform her of the situation. I've always been the focus of attention in my family, so when they heard I got first place, everyone dropped what they were doing and came home, except my second sister. She was in the middle of surgery. You can't exactly pause that. Mom and Dad literally pulled out a magnifying glass to study my report card. Then they passed it around like it was a historical artifact. No signs of grade tampering.
Did she cheat?
That doesn't make sense. She's too lazy and too simple-minded to cheat. I'm telling you, she finally got smart. I always said there's no one simple in this family. My third brother's comment caused chaos. At night, my parents took me to get my IQ tested again. The specialist looked at the results, his hands trembling with excitement. This child is a genius. IQ of 290. Higher than Einstein. My parents didn't believe it. They were in shock. Didn't they say she was intellectually challenged? Before the specialist concluded, either she was faking it or her intelligence just awakened. My parents looked at me. Which one? I answered without hesitation. The second one. They laughed bitterly.
Right.
So you were faking it. Faked it for over a decade. You're like a plastic bag full of nothing but air. Faced with their sarcasm, I stayed silent. I felt too bad for them. Should have just kept pretending to be challenged my whole life. Mom gently asked, Willow, why did you pretend to be simple-minded? I munched on my chips. Crunch.
Crunch.
Because smart people get watched by everyone. Simple people only get watched by you guys. As long as I was challenged, you wouldn't make me interact with strangers. Socializing is exhausting. I'm too lazy to even take the MBTI test. Because there are too many questions. Not wanting to deal with that many people is perfectly reasonable. Mom smiled sweetly. Then she and Dad teamed up and disciplined me. Since I wasn't pretending anymore, I really stopped pretending. I copied Asher's pose, planting my foot on the table. Folks, I have a confession. I'm a black belt in Taekwondo. My parents' efforts resulted in 0 damage. My brother was amazed. Little Moonbeam, when did you learn Taekwondo? Taught myself in my room. It's great for fitness, for helping people, for self-defense. The ultimate life skill. My family didn't know whether to laugh or cry about why I'd been faking it. My second sister patted my head. Our little Willow doesn't need to work hard. Our family has enough money for you to spend your whole life. My third brother and fourth sister shot her icy glares. Fourth sister said coolly, half this family does research, which burns money. Only me and third brother actually make money. Where do you get the confidence to say that? Willow, our family's broke. Learn business with me. Third brother immediately cut. In no way. Little Moonbeam's so pretty. I've always said she should be in entertainment. None of you are stealing her from me. My oldest brother patted my shoulder.
Come with me.
Use the law to protect people. Even Mom and Dad joined the battle after a long argument. My third brother suggested, stop fighting. What we say doesn't matter. Willow should decide what she wants. Everyone turned to stare at me, eyes burning with expectation. I felt like a fish on a cutting board. I grinned. I want to do nothing and live off you guys. Mom, dream on. Dad, delusional. Oldest brother, unrealistic. Fourth sister, ridiculous. Third brother's eyes lit up. I totally agree. Everyone shot him death glares. He straightened up immediately. Morally corrupt. Back at school, everyone stared at me like I was some kind of alien. See, this is why being a genius is troublesome. So annoying. I walked into class and sat down, accepting everyone's stares. I pulled out the breakfast from the bag on my desk and started eating, glancing at Asher, who was buried in his books. First time I'd ever seen him study this hard. I was touched. Since he brought me breakfast every day, I decided to comfort him. You don't have to work this hard. It's okay if you can't beat me. No need to feel inferior. After all, I'm a genius. Asher froze, then burst out laughing. Moonbeam, will you have issues if you don't brag? I narrowed my eyes and smirked. Very well.
You're the first to doubt me, man.
You've successfully caught my attention. Asher reached into my desk drawer and pulled out a book. See. Oh, Sterling, your wife just passed the civil service exam. He opened his mouth, took a moment, and finally said, you're pretty. Inspirational, huh? For some reason, I kept feeling this faint hostile intent, like someone was watching me, plotting against me. I looked around. Nothing, but I was sure someone was scheming. The first 2 periods were English, so morning reading was also English. The teacher was a middle-aged woman who usually looked stern, but today she came over to me with a big smile. Willow, you're the only one in the whole school who got a perfect score. I read your essay. It's excellent. You've been hiding your skills all this time, huh? The whole school's shocked.
Keep it up, miss.
I liked you better when you were mean. Her smile froze. She took a deep breath. Study more, talk less. Remember that? It'll serve you well. Someone in the class snorted with laughter. She turned to look, but suddenly everyone was reading extra loud. She couldn't figure out who it was after the teacher set the example. The moment class ended, my classmates swarmed me. Willow, weren't you supposed to be simple-minded? How do you suddenly get so smart? I know. She must have been reborn. Share the future test answers with us. Being reborn doesn't change your brain, dummy. She obviously got a system. Is it one of those study systems that shocks you if you don't improve? I kept eating my breakfast, listening to their wild theories, and finally spoke up. Is there any chance I'm actually just a genius who's been pretending to be simple this whole time? The class went silent. Then everyone shook their heads in unison. The system theory makes way more sense. They read just as many web novels as I do. Asher draped his arm over my shoulder. Willow's been faking it the whole time. I always knew someone from the back row called out liar. Yesterday, you said she betrayed you. Asher didn't even flinch. He just leaned back in his chair, kicked his feet up onto the desk, and smirked at the accuser. I was mourning, obviously. Mourning the fact that my girlfriend is actually smarter than me. It's a very fragile time for my ego. Please respect my privacy. The class erupted into a mix of groans and laughter. I just peeled a hard-boiled egg. Girlfriend? Since when did we make that official? I mean, sure, he was a rich hottie who bought me breakfast, but I hadn't signed any paperwork. Too much commitment. Anyway, Asher continued, stealing a piece of my bacon. Willow is a genius. Deal with it. If anyone has a problem with it, you can take it up with me. Or her lawyer brother. Or her taekwondo black belt. The crowd dispersed pretty quickly after that. Nobody wanted to mess with Asher, and apparently, my new reputation as a secret martial arts genius with a lawyer brother was enough to build a solid perimeter of fear. Excellent. Fear meant silence, and silence meant nap time. But that tingling sensation at the back of my neck, that faint, prickly feeling of hostile intent, didn't go away. It took exactly 3 days for the other shoe to drop. I was in the middle of a glorious dream where I was a billionaire sea cucumber, doing absolutely nothing at the bottom of the ocean, when the classroom door banged open. Willow, to the principal's office.
Now.
It was the dean of students, the guy whose bike tires had met a tragic end. He looked incredibly smug, flanked by 2 people who looked like corporate suits. I blinked sleep out of my eyes. Is it a fire? If it's not a fire, I'm not walking. This is serious, Willow, the dean barked. We have proof. I sighed, grabbing my half-eaten bag of chips, and dragged my feet all the way to the office. Asher trailed right behind me, his hands in his pockets, his eyes dark and calculating. The punk act was completely gone. Right now, he looked every bit the ruthless heir to the Sterling Empire. When we got to the principal's office, the room was packed. My mom and dad were already there, looking more annoyed than worried. But the surprising addition was a girl from our class, Serafina Vance. She was the girl who used to rank 3rd, right behind Asher and some other guy, before I nuked the curve. The sleepy culprit arrives. A middle-aged man next to Serafina sneered. He looked like an older, male version of her. Mr. Vance, I presumed. Get to the point. I yawned, sinking into the plush leather chair and offering a chip to my dad. He took it automatically. The point, the dean said, slapping a thick folder onto the desk, is that we traced a massive hack into the school's mainframe. The IP address pings directly to your home network, Willow. You didn't just cheat on the test. You altered the entire school's database to give yourself perfect scores. I stared at him. Then I looked at the folder. You printed out IP logs? Do you know how bad that is for the environment? Don't change the subject. Mr. Vance slammed his hand on the table. My daughter has been robbed of her rightful academic standing by a fraud. Furthermore, this hack exposed the personal information of several prominent families, including mine. We are pressing charges. Mom laughed. It wasn't a nice laugh. It was the laugh of a mathematician who had just spotted a fatal flaw in a toddler's arithmetic. You're pressing charges? Against my daughter? For a cybercrime? The evidence is irrefutable, the dean said proudly. We brought in a top-tier cybersecurity expert. He gestured to a guy in the corner who was aggressively typing on a laptop. The expert pushed his glasses up his nose. It's true. The firewall was breached using a brute force algorithm that originated from the IP address registered to the Willow residence. It's a sloppy job, honestly. Left a massive digital footprint. I looked at Asher. Asher looked at me. Sloppy. I whispered, genuinely offended. I know, Asher whispered back. The disrespect. I'll have you know, I said, sitting up slightly, that if I were to hack the school mainframe, I wouldn't use a brute force algorithm. That takes, 3 hours of running scripts? I'm too lazy for that. I would have just fished the password from the dean's email because his password is definitely password 123. The dean turned bright red. How did you? Because you're basic, I said deadpan. I pulled out my phone. Also, you guys do realize my fourth sister runs SCO, right? The biggest tech conglomerate in the hemisphere? Mr. Vance scoffed. And what does that have to do with this? She can't save you from federal law. No, but she can save you from public humiliation if you stop talking right now. I dialed a number. It rang once. What, little moonbeam? Fourth sister's voice was crisp, accompanied by the sound of rapid typing in the background. I'm in the middle of hostilely taking over a rival firm.
Casey's.
Some guy named Vance is accusing me of sloppy hacking. Can you check my home network? Vance? As in Vance Industries? The people who make those tragic, low-quality microchips. She scoffed loudly. Give me 10 seconds. Silence fell over the room. The expert in the corner looked up, suddenly sweating. Wait, SEO? Like the SEO? 9, 8, got it, fourth sister said over the speakerphone. Someone bounced their IP through our home router to make it look like it came from you. It's a basic proxy reroute. Wait, this code is garbage. It looks like it was written by a middle schooler. Let me trace the actual origin. More typing. Okay, the real IP comes from a laptop currently connected to the school's guest Wi-Fi. Device name, S_Vance_MacBook Pro. Every head in the room slowly turned to Serafina. She went completely pale, her eyes darting toward the door. That's a lie. She's making it up. I also just accessed your webcam, fourth sister added cheerfully. Nice nose job, Serafina. The swelling went down nicely. Hang up. Hang up the phone. Serafina shrieked. I hung up. I looked at the dean, who looked like he was about to faint. So, I said, crunching on another chip. Burden of proof on the accuser, right? Looks like she proved herself guilty. Are we done? I miss my nap. Mr. Vance's face was purple. This is an outrage. You illegally hacked my daughter's computer. Before my dad could unleash his terrifying, disappointed scientist wrath, the office door opened again. In walked a man in a bespoke three-piece suit, carrying a sleek briefcase. He adjusted his gold-rimmed glasses and offered a terrifyingly polite smile. Oldest brother. I cheered weakly. You actually came. My oldest brother, the lawyer who charged $5,000 an hour just to breathe in his presence, stepped into the room. He didn't even look at the dean or Mr. Vance. He walked straight to me and patted my head. Mom texted. Said some pests were bothering our little moonbeam. He finally turned to the room, opening his briefcase. I am the legal representative for the Willow family. I have here a draft for a defamation lawsuit, a cyber-terrorism countersuit, and a petition for a restraining order. Furthermore, SCO's legal team is currently preparing a lawsuit against Vance Industries for corporate espionage, as we have reason to believe this little stunt was a distraction to tank SCO stock. He dropped the stack of papers on the principal's desk. The thud echoed like a gunshot. My sister, my brother said, his voice dropping to a deadly, glacial tone, is the laziest, most harmless creature on this planet. She cries when she has to tie her own shoes. If you ever attempt to frame her to get to our family again, I will personally ensure that Vance Industries is reduced to a garage sale. It was a beautiful speech. I would have clapped, but my hands were dusty with chip seasoning. Mr. Vance grabbed Serafina by the arm and practically sprinted out of the office, muttering apologies and sweating profusely. The expert had already snuck out the window. The dean looked like he wanted the floor to swallow him whole. You're fired, by the way, Asher told the dean casually, finally speaking up. The dean blinked. You can't fire me. You're a student. Asher smiled. It wasn't a boyish, punk smile. It was the smile of Asher Sterling, heir to the Sterling Group. My grandfather is the primary benefactor of this school. I just texted him. You're fired. Leave the keys on the desk. The aftermath was glorious. With the dean gone and Serafina transferring to a school in another state out of sheer embarrassment, peace returned to my life. Well, somewhat. Because now my siblings had entirely dropped their acts. Remember the fake gay/lesbian/incestuous romance drama? Yeah, that completely evaporated. It was exhausting anyway, my oldest brother confessed over Sunday dinner. Do you know how hard it is to pretend to be dating a rival male lawyer just to keep mom from setting me up on blind dates? The guy started actually catching feelings. I had to buy him a Rolex as an apology when I broke it off. I only pretended to be dating fourth sister because dad wanted me to take over the hospital's second sister, the top surgeon, admitted, pouring herself a glass of wine. If he thought we were a scandalous, forbidden couple, he wouldn't dare put us in the public eye. It was flawless logic. Flawless if you're insane, Mom muttered, though she looked weirdly relieved. I thought I had failed as a mother. Turns out, I just raised a bunch of overdramatic sociopaths. Except for Willow. Everyone looked at me. I was currently using a mechanical grabber claw to pick up a dinner roll because it was too far across the table. Willow is efficient, Dad corrected gently. Speaking of efficiency, third brother, the celebrity said, leaning his chin on his hands. The paparazzi caught photos of Asher dropping Willow off in a Rolls Royce yesterday. The internet is losing its mind. They think my little sister is a gold digger. I paused with the grabber claw halfway to my mouth. Gold digger?
Me?
Do they know how much effort gold digging takes? You have to dress up, smile, laugh at bad jokes, go to fancy restaurants. I'd rather die. Exactly what I told my PR team, third brother grinned. So, I took the liberty of leaking your IQ test results and your martial arts certificates. I dropped the roll. You did what? Oh, it's trending everywhere. Fourth sister chimed in, checking her tablet. Hashtag lazy genius. Hashtag Sterling meets his match. Asher's family PR team is actually coordinating with ours. His grandfather loves you, by the way. He thinks your total lack of ambition will ground Asher's reckless tendencies. I groaned, sliding down my chair until I was under the table. I hate all of you. I'm moving to the woods. I'm going to become a moss-covered rock. Suddenly, a hand reached under the tablecloth and offered me a strawberry lollipop. I looked up. Asher was sitting in the chair next to me, completely unfazed by the chaos of my family. I hadn't even noticed him come in. I'll buy you a very comfortable rock, he whispered. I took the candy. It better have Wi-Fi. Life after being outed as a genius wasn't terrible, mostly because I actively refused to participate in it. The school tried to put me in advanced placement classes. I told them I would simply sleep through them. They put me in them anyway. I slept through them. I still got 100% on the exams, mostly by skimming the textbooks for 3 minutes before the bell rang. But there was one major shift. Asher. Without his street punk disguise, the school finally realized who he was. The bleached blonde hair grew out, replaced by his natural dark waves. The ripped jeans were swapped for pristine, custom-tailored uniforms. He went from dangerous bad boy to untouchable princeling overnight. Every girl in school suddenly realized he was the heir to the Sterling Empire, and they flocked to him like seagulls to a French fry. I watched it happen from my desk, my head resting on a soft pillow I had smuggled into class. A group of girls was currently giggling around his desk, offering him homemade bento boxes and asking him for tutoring. I'm really struggling with calculus, Asher, one girl said, batting her eyelashes. Could we maybe study at a cafe later? Asher didn't even look up from his book. I charge $1,000 an hour for tutoring. Cash only. The girls deflated and awkwardly shuffled away. I snorted into my pillow. Asher glanced over at me, his eyes softening immediately. He walked over, abandoning his book, and sat sideways in the chair in front of me. You're awake, he noted. Your fan club was too loud, I mumbled. Also, I'm hungry. He immediately produced a warm egg tart from a paper bag and placed it on my desk. Eat up, little moonbeam. By the way, my grandfather is throwing a charity gala this weekend. He explicitly asked if you were coming. I chewed on the egg tart thoughtfully.
A gala.
That implies standing. And dresses. And small talk. Tell him I died in a tragic nap accident. I told him you'd say that, Asher laughed. So, he made a deal. If you come, he will personally fund a state-of-the-art gaming room in my apartment. With the ergonomic chairs you like. I stopped chewing. The ones with the built-in massagers and snack coolers? The very same. I'll wear a gown, I said solemnly. But I'm not wearing heels. I will wear fuzzy slippers, and if anyone complains, I will unleash my oldest brother on them.
Deal.
The night of the Sterling Charity Gala was exactly the kind of high society nightmare I usually avoided like the plague. There were chandeliers the size of minivans, a string quartet playing Mozart, and hundreds of people wearing outfits that cost more than a private jet. And then there was my family. My parents walked in looking like royalty, Dad in a classic tux, Mom in a sleek emerald gown. Oldest brother and second sister walked together, looking like a pair of supervillains ready to buy the venue and fire everyone inside. Third brother was flashing his $1 million celebrity smile at the cameras, and fourth sister was already networking, a glass of champagne in one hand and a business card in the other. And me? My sisters had forced me into a stunning, midnight blue ball gown that literally sparkled like the night sky. I had to admit, I looked incredible. But true to my word, hidden beneath the hem of my floor-length dress were my favorite, plush, baby blue bunny slippers. Comfort is king. Wow, a voice said. I turned. Asher was walking toward me. If I thought he looked good in a school uniform, it was nothing compared to him in a fitted tuxedo. He looked like the main character in one of those CEO romance novels I read when I was supposed to be doing homework. You clean up well, Sterling, I noted, taking a sip of the punch. He stopped in front of me, his eyes locked onto mine. You look beautiful, Willow. Seriously. I felt a weird flutter in my chest. I hated flutters. They required emotional processing. I immediately deflected. Don't fall in love with me. I don't share my snacks. I know, he smiled, offering me his arm. I brought my own. Shall we? I linked my arm through his, and we walked into the main ballroom. The moment we stepped in, the whispers started. Is that the Willow girl? I heard she's a certified genius. Her family is terrifying. Did you hear what her brother did to the Vance family? Look at her. She has such an aura of calm elegance. Calm elegance. I was literally just trying not to trip over my own dress because I was too lazy to lift the hem. Asher's grandfather, a fiercely intimidating man with silver hair and a cane, spotted us and walked over. The crowd parted for him like the Red Sea. He stopped in front of me, his sharp eyes assessing me from head to toe. So, you're the girl who finally knocked my grandson off his pedestal, Old Man Sterling said, his voice a low gravel. He was standing on a very short pedestal. I replied automatically. My family, who had migrated over to watch the interaction, collectively inhaled sharply. You don't insult a Sterling to his face. But Old Man Sterling stared at me for a second, and then burst into a booming laugh. I like her. He slammed his cane on the marble floor. She doesn't flinch. Asher, if you let this one go, I'm writing you out of the will. Wasn't planning on it, Grandpa. Asher smiled, his grip on my arm tightening slightly. Just as the tension broke, an obnoxious voice cut through the crowd. Mr. Sterling. What a wonderful event. It was a middle-aged man with a slicked-back haircut, walking with a young man who looked like a carbon copy of him. I vaguely recognized the logo on his lapel. He was the CEO of Apex Tech, SEO's biggest rival. The people who had tried to poach Dad's research a few years ago. Ah, Richard, Old Man Sterling said, his smile vanishing instantly. I didn't realize you were invited. I wouldn't miss it, Richard said smoothly. His eyes landed on my fourth sister, who was glaring daggers at him. Then he looked at me. And this must be the famous Willow. The genius. Tell me, little girl, do you actually understand the algorithms your sister's company uses, or is it all just a PR stunt? The music seemed to stop. The entire ballroom went quiet. My oldest brother stepped forward, adjusting his cuffs. I'll handle this, he murmured. No, wait, fourth sister said, her eyes gleaming. Let her. I looked at Richard. I looked at his smug son. Then I looked at the buffet table behind them, which had a towering chocolate fountain. I really wanted to get to that fountain. You're the CEO of Apex, right? I asked, my voice flat. I am. Richard puffed out his chest.
Cool.
Your flagship software, the Apex Cloud Protocol? It has a recursive loop error in line 4052 of the backend encryption, I said, suppressing a yawn. It causes a 0.02-second delay in data retrieval. Which doesn't sound like much until you scale it to enterprise level, which is why your servers crash every third Tuesday of the month. Richard's smug expression froze. How? How could you possibly know that? That's strictly confidential company data. I got bored during math class last month and decompiled your public beta. I shrugged. Also, your son's password to the admin database is admin 2026. Which is just embarrassing. The crowd gasped. Richard's son turned beet red. Furthermore, I added, really wanting this conversation to end so I could get chocolate, my sister's company uses a quantum heuristic model that dynamically repairs its own code. I know because I wrote the base algorithm when I was 12. I called it Project Nap Time because it did the work for me so I could sleep. So, to answer your question, yes, I understand the algorithms. Now, if you'll excuse me, there is a chocolate strawberry calling my name. I didn't wait for a response. I just walked past him, my bunny slippers shuffling quietly against the marble. Behind me, absolute chaos erupted. Fourth sister was laughing so hard she spilled her champagne. Old Man Sterling was howling with delight. My oldest brother was already handing out business cards to the investors who were rapidly backing away from the ruined CEO of Apex Tech. Asher caught up with me at the chocolate fountain. He handed me a skewer of strawberries. You know, he said, leaning against a table, watching the devastation I had just casually caused. You're really terrifying when you apply yourself. I applied exactly 2% of my brain power, I muttered, biting into a strawberry. Any more than that, and I demand a salary. What if I offered you a lifetime contract? Asher asked. His voice was suddenly very soft, very serious. I paused. I looked up at him. The teasing glint in his eyes was gone, replaced by a deep, unwavering sincerity. He stepped closer, gently brushing a stray lock of hair behind my ear. I'm serious, Willow, he said softly. I don't care about the genius thing. I don't care about the family drama. I like the girl who ate cake by herself because she was mad she wasn't invited to a wedding. I like the girl who leaves strawberry lollipops on my desk. Be my girlfriend.
For real this time. No fake romance. No pretending.
I stared at him. The handsome face, the ridiculous wealth, the absolute devotion in his eyes. I thought about the logistics. Having a billionaire boyfriend meant unlimited snacks. It meant I would never have to drive myself anywhere. It meant I had a human shield against socializing. It was, mathematically speaking, the most efficient choice for a lazy person. Fine, I said. Asher blinked.
Fine?
Just fine? I'm not writing a sonnet, Sterling. I rolled my eyes, grabbing his tie, and pulling him down slightly.
But yes.
For real. A slow, brilliant smile spread across his face. He wrapped his arms around my waist and pulled me in, kissing me right there next to the chocolate fountain. It was warm, sweet, and surprisingly perfect. When we finally broke apart, we heard a chorus of camera clicks. We looked over. My entire family, plus old man Sterling, were standing in a semicircle, holding up their phones. Got the perfect angle, third brother whispered. I'm drafting the prenup tomorrow. Oldest brother nodded. I'm booking the caterer, Mom cried softly. I groaned, burying my face in Asher's chest. Make them go away. Asher chuckled, wrapping his arms tighter around me. Sorry, Moonbeam. I think we're stuck with them. But hey, look on the bright side. What bright side? I mumbled into his tuxedo jacket. You never have to take another test to prove you're smart. You can just be lazy. I paused. I peeked out from his jacket, looking at my wildly overachieving family, the destroyed tech CEO in the background, and my incredibly hot, incredibly devoted boyfriend. I had successfully manipulated the universe into letting me do absolutely nothing for the rest of my life. I smiled. You know what, Asher? Being a genius isn't so exhausting after all.